Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NCO Awards Breakfast. I am Dan Daly, a Sergeant Major of the Army, retired. As a reminder, please turn off or silence all cell phones. For all the soldiers and non-commissioned officers in attendance, use this opportunity over the next several days to learn more about your Army, gain new ideas from your senior leaders, and learn more about our doctrine and training programs. While these next several days are fun-filled events, they are professional development and learning events as well. Let me begin by welcoming our distinguished speaker for today, the Director of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Laura Potter. Our host, the 17th Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Weimer. We have several distinguished guests joining us today. Our former Sergeant Majors of the Army. Please join me in a round of applause for each of them. A few of our international Sergeant Majors and their commanders are with us today. Please join me in a warm welcome for our international leaders. And our Medal of Honor recipient, Master Sergeant Retired Earl Plumley. Please join me in a round of applause for our hero. And a special thank you to our silver sponsor for all NCO events at the annual meeting, Jonathan Engineering Solutions. I'd also like to recognize our bronze level sponsors, Columbia Southern University and Ecolog, for all their support for this event and our soldiers and families. Please join me in a round of applause for our sponsors. Now I'd like to ask Sergeant Major Megan Simmons from the Office of the Chief of Chaplains to offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and almighty God, we gather here this morning to honor the commitment, service, and leadership of our non-commissioned officers. Today we celebrate those who embody the highest ideals of our Army and uphold the proud legacy of dedication and responsibility found in the creed of the non-commissioned officer. As we recognize their achievements, we are reminded of the words, "No one is more professional than I," and the charge to fulfill our duties with dedication and commitment to excellence. Bless the leaders who stand before us as the backbone of the Army, tirelessly working to lead, train, and mentor our soldiers. We also remember with gratitude those who have proudly wore the chevrons before us, laying the foundation of honor, service, and sacrifice that we continue to build upon today. Lord, as we share this meal together, may we reflect on the principles of the Creed of the Non-Commissioned Officer to serve as leaders of integrity, to uphold the standards, and to be ever watchful in our mission to protect and serve. Help all of us to continue transforming for a complex world, embodying the Army's core values and striving to be the best leaders we can be. We ask that you bless our non-commissioned officer corps, our families, and all those who support our Army. May their courage, loyalty, and strength continue to inspire those they lead. And may we all honor the sacred duty to support, defend, and uphold the nation's principles. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Sergeant Major Simmons. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your breakfast. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue and enjoy your breakfast. At this time, I have the honor of introducing our host for this morning, the 17th Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Weimer.
Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Where's our best squad at? Excuse me? Where's our best squad at? All right, there we go. That was pretty good yesterday. Let's give them a round of applause. Hey, it's good to see everybody here this morning in this venue, and I'm going to take just a quick couple seconds here to just acknowledge that I learned from SMA Grinston this was a tough spot to try to figure out how to take the right time, find the right venue, and honor our NCOs and Soldiers of the Year across a whole total Army. And so after last year, we AAR'd and we said, hey, we got to figure this out. We got to find a better venue. And so I just got to give SMA Daily another shout out. Now, Tuesday is busy. Matter of fact, Tuesday is the busiest day for some of us on the AUSA agenda. But this is what right looks like. So SMA Daily and team, thank you very much for making this happen. Okay, so we got the venue right, and we got it filled with the right people. And today we get an opportunity, especially this morning with some breakfast, to honor some amazing soldiers across the whole Army, total Army. We're gonna do that here in a few minutes. But before we do that, I get to introduce our keynote speaker. And much like yesterday when I introduced the Vice, this is my other Ranger buddy inside the Pentagon. And I'm here to tell you, this individual, I think, and I think the other SMAs would probably agree with me, has the toughest job on the Army staff. The absolute chaos coordinator is the director of the Army staff. And how you know it's going incredibly well with the director of the Army staff is that most of you have no idea, because she and her team, and she's got some of her team back there at that table. Where's Team DAS? Right back there, in the back left. I'm here to tell you, the support that you get, it all goes through that office. And it's amazing what happens in that office. So this individual has an amazing career. And so I guess the moral of the story is be careful, because if you're a rock star, you might end up being the Army, the Army's director. So it is my great honor to introduce to you the Director of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Laura Potter. Ma'am, come on up here.
Okay, so I got to say something right up front. First of all, I've never sat at such a phenomenal table that represents so many decades of history of our outstanding non-commissioned officer corps. One of them, who's not shy, none of them are shy, but one of them who's not shy said if I don't get a resounding hooah out of everybody at some point, he's going to come up and take the podium. So when I cue you, I expect loud and on point. SMA Weimer, thank you for your kind introduction. And yes, it is fascinating to be your 58th Director of the Army Staff. I'd also like to thank AUSA and its sponsors and partners. I'd really like to thank AUSA for creating an environment where at every event and every forum over these 3 days, we have the opportunity to showcase the individual and collective excellence, technological excellence, tactical excellence, lethality excellence of the greatest land power in the world, the United States Army. Can I get a hooah? That was pretty good, SMA. Okay, we passed that test. So we're showcasing this to the American public. We're showcasing it to our industry colleagues. We're showcasing it to military and veteran support organizations, to our phenomenal allies and partners. But probably most importantly, we're showcasing this power and might to any potential adversary. I'm honored to be among the greatness of Medal of Honor recipient Master Sergeant Earl Plumley. And the Sergeant Major of the Army National Guard, John Raines, the Command Sergeant Major of the Army Reserve, Greg Betty, 4 previous SMAs, currently serving and retired Sergeants Major and Command Sergeants Major from the total Army, Command Sergeants Majors from several of our allies and partners, I can tell you that your leadership and the example that you set has impacted generations of soldiers and families now and well into the future. It's a real privilege for me to address this group and to recognize the best that our Army has to offer. Today's awardees are the true embodiment of this We'll Defend. This We'll Defend is on our flag and has been the Army's motto since the Revolution. And as we approach the significant milestone of 250 years, the one constant that has been and always will be the cornerstone of our excellence is our non-commissioned officer corps. The Secretary and the Chief have put us on a path to transform for the complex world that we live in. And that transformation is taking place across the Army and across the Chief's 4 focus areas, and it's being led by our NCOs. So before we get to our awardees, I'd like to share with you some examples of the impact that your Army's NCOs are having every day across the globe. First, 3 of our brigade combat teams, 2nd Brigade of the 101st, 2nd Brigade of the 25th Infantry Division, and 310 Mountain, are conducting transformation in contact. They're rapidly integrating emerging technology and capabilities brought on by observations from the Russia-Ukraine war and conflicts in the Middle East, learned from our preparedness to tackle any threat we might face in the Indo-Pacific. These BCTs are going to our combat training centers with new equipment to inform transformation. NCOs like Staff Sergeant Philip Heck and 11 Bravo, an infantryman from Fairfax, Virginia, assigned to 225. NCOs and hundreds like him are fielding UAS, counter-UAS, infantry squad vehicles, Steeds, SMETs, and new network technology, and they are on the forefront of learning and driving innovation. Second, we have NCOs in the multi-domain battlefield that are in contested environments as we sit here today. NCOs like Staff Sergeant Michael Newberger, the 35 Fox intelligence analyst from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, who works in the Army Cyber G2. He's expertly integrating intelligence tradecraft with defensive cyber operations, keeping our network safe from adversaries during competition, crisis, and conflict. Third, we have NCOs doing the heavy lifting of preparing the force for the physical and mental rigors of 21st century combat. 2 drill sergeants at the Future Soldier Prep Course have been integral to the success of the program. Staff Sergeant Alicia May, a 19 Delta from Vermontville, Michigan, and Sergeant Jakeesh Keys, a 92 Alpha from Vanceboro, North Carolina. They are some of the best NCOs in TRADOC, transforming young men and women who are ineligible based on their test scores but have a strong desire to serve. And these NCOs are delivering record high numbers of ready recruits to basic combat training. We have NCOs who are fundamental to strengthening our profession. The Chief wants us to share ideas, engage, debate, and learn together in order to be a better, more lethal warfighting force. NCOs like Staff Sergeant Darren Malone, a 17 Echo electronic warfare specialist from Jessup, Georgia. He's a member of the 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force in Europe. Staff Sergeant Malone distinguished himself by pushing the boundaries on what can be expected of our electronic warfare operators. His innovative approaches to training have significantly enhanced the readiness and capabilities of his soldiers. He's helping to redefine how we conduct electromagnetic warfare. And my last example is the strength and lethality of our Army squads. For those of you in the room for yesterday's lunch, I am sure you will share with me just how profoundly inspirational it was to see our Soldier and NCO of the Year and our best squads from across the total Army. They demonstrated peerless physical and mental toughness, part of which I got to watch on the Mall last Saturday. They demonstrated lethality, cohesion, grit, tactical and technical expertise, and extraordinary leadership. They are what give us an unassailable advantage against any potential adversary. So why am I talking to you about these examples this morning? As impressive as all of those non-commissioned officers I've just highlighted are, None of them materialize in our Army without a tremendous amount of effort and dedication. We would not have one of those soldiers I just talked about without the dedicated men and women that we are going to recognize today. Today's awardees represent, for example, thousands of non-commissioned officers on the front lines of our fight to market the Army, to recruit the Army, and to retain the Army. They spend long days, often away from home, away from family, in an outsized amount of battle space or terrain, if you will, all across the American landscape, telling our story and looking for the kind of talent that will someday be part of the best squad. We will recognize our best drill sergeants, the men and women that are molding our young people with fundamental life skills in addition to their basic combat training. We will recognize lifelong learners, a priority for all of our Army senior leaders. We'll recognize excellence in Go to Green, recognizing the key component that nutrition and healthy eating plays in holistic health and fitness. We'll recognize our best medics who give soldiers across the Army and their families confidence in knowing that they will be cared for in combat by the best. And our AUSA chapters and AER who do more for soldiers and family support than most people recognize or appreciate. The NCOs that you will see on the stage this morning and the thousands they represent are unsung heroes. And I would submit to you that we all need to warm up our vocal cords and start singing their praises. For without them, we cannot build the lethal fighting force that the Army and the nation have relied upon for the past 250 years. SMA Weimer, SMA Daly, I want to thank you both again for asking me to speak at this award ceremony. And to the non-commissioned officers that are here with us, I want to thank you for your leadership and commitment to the United States Army. And thank you for making us the greatest fighting force in the world. Be all you can be. This will defend.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Potter. That was incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see over this last several days, we are in good hands with the senior leadership of our Army. Thank you for your incredible leadership. Today, we have several awards we want to present to recognize our NCOs of excellence. We will begin by announcing the winners of the fiscal year 2024 Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Education Leadership Award. The Larry L. Strickland Education Leadership Award is given in honor of the memory of Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland, the Deputy Chief of Staff, G1 Sergeant Major, who was killed in September 11th terrorist attack on the Pentagon. Sergeant Major Strickland was an outstanding non-commissioned officer and friend who cared deeply about soldiers and their professional development. He believed if you educate the NCO, you educate the soldiers they lead. Honoring Sergeant Major Strickland today gives us the opportunity to honor all those who gave their life in service of our nation. The Larry L. Strickland Education Leadership Award is awarded annually to a senior and mid-grade non-commissioned officer who exemplify the Army's vision of lifelong learning and motivates others to continue their professional development to shape our future leaders. A non-commissioned officer like Sergeant Major Strickland, who identifies, trains, and develops, coaches, and mentors tomorrow's leaders. A non-commissioned officer who is a steward of the Army and our nation's most precious resource, the American soldier. I would ask the following distinguished guests to please join me on stage. The Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major retired Tom Gills, who serves as the president of the Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Memorial Fund Committee, and Mrs. Pam Swan, Vice President of Military Relations and Business Development for Veterans United Home Loans. And now, the 2024 Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Education Leadership Award Senior Non-Commissioned Officer recipient is First Sergeant Gerald Woods, Defense Information School, Fort Meade, Maryland. SMA Weimer will present our 2024 Senior Non-Commissioned Officer honoree with a Bronze Eagle. Sergeant Major Gills, the President of the Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Memorial Fund Committee, will present a check for $4,000. Ms. Pam Swan will present our honoree with a laptop computer on behalf of Veterans United Home Loans. Please join me in a round of applause for the 2024 Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Education Leadership Award recipient. The 2024 Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Education Leadership Award mid-grade non-commissioned officer recipient is Sergeant First Class Margarita Hurtado, 41st Field Artillery Brigade, East Camp, Grafenwehr, Germany. SMA Weimel will present our 2024 mid-grade non-commissioned officer honoree with a Bronze Eagle. Sergeant Major Gills, the President of the Sergeant Major Larry L. Strickland Memorial Fund Committee, will present a check for $4,000. And Ms. Pam Swan will present our honoree with a laptop computer on behalf of Veterans United Home Loans. In addition to the Bronze Eagles received here, there's also a large Bronze Eagle on display at the United States Army Sergeant Majors Academy at Fort Bliss, Texas. All the Eagles are from our Association of the United States Army. The name of each Strickland Award recipient has been added to the permanently displayed Bronze Eagle at the Sergeant Majors Academy. Please join me in another round of applause for our awardees. If you could, yeah, no, go ahead.
Both of us?
Yeah, I got a little,
Sure.
got a little thing. I don't want you standing up here for a little. And now I have the honor of announcing the 2024 Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick Memorial AUSA Scholarship Award. Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick Memorial AUSA Scholarship Award is given in honor of the memory of Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick. Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick began her public affairs career in 1979. Sergeant Major Kilpatrick's most challenging assignments include serving as the newspaper editor of 3 of the Army's most prestigious newspapers, the Hawaii Army Weekly at Fort Shafter, the Bayonet at Fort Benning, and the Paraglide at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Then, as a special assistant to the Secretary of the Army, Sergeant Major Kilpatrick served as the personal public affairs officer for the Secretary. She was the first non-commissioned officer to ever serve in that role. Sergeant Major Kilpatrick was a master parachutist with more than 650 jumps. She spent 2 years as a member of the prestigious Golden Knights. In 1999, the United States Army and the Association of the United States Army formed a partnership to honor Sergeant Major Dawn Kilpatrick and her selfless service to our Army and our nation. The Office of the Chief of Public Affairs established a scholarship in her name, titled the Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick Memorial Association of the United States Army Scholarship Award. I would ask the following distinguished guests to please join me on stage. Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Weimer, Sergeant Major Stephanie L. Carl from the Office of the Chief of Public Affairs and the Army's Public Affairs Sergeant Major, and Mrs. Pam Swan, Vice President of Military Relations and Business Development for Veterans United Home Loans. The 2024 recipient of the Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick Scholarship Award is Sergeant First Class Michael Sword, Public Affairs NCOIC for the 11th Airborne Division. SMA Weimar will present our 2024 Sergeant Major Don Kilpatrick honoree with a Bronze Eagle. Sergeant Major Carl from the Office of the Chief of Public Affairs will present our award recipient with a check for $4,000. Ms. Pam will present a laptop computer to our award recipient on behalf of Veterans United Home Loans. Each year, recipient's name will be permanently displayed in a place in honor in the Office of the Chief of Public Affairs. Please join me in a round of applause for our winner. you stay. Yeah. Okay. The Army's commitment to improving overall nutrition, or ACTION, is an initiative that enables the enterprise as a collective effort to enhance readiness throughout nutrition. The lethality of our soldiers depends on their physical and cognitive performance, in which nutrition is the most critical component of a conditioned warfighter. To promote excellence in nutrition, the Army created the Command Sergeant Major retired Troy Welsh Action Award as a way to reward this excellence. Command Sergeant Major retired Troy Welsh entered active duty in June of 1977. He enlisted as a food service specialist. Welsh served in every leadership position from first cook, shift leader, platoon sergeant, first sergeant, and Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major Welsh was also the first soldier to serve as the Army G4 Sergeant Major and the first food service specialist to serve as the Major Command level, culminating his career as the Command Sergeant Major of United Nations Command Combined Forces Command United States Forces Korea and 8th Army United States Army. After 30 years of service, Command Sergeant Major Welsh retired in July of 2007. Each year, the Headquarters Department of the Army Deputy Chief of Staff for the Army G4 will recognize the top 3 commands that have the highest cumulative points on the Action Scorecard from Vantage. The Action Scorecard assesses standards and progress for Go for Green, modernization, military nutrition assessment tool, customer feedback, feeding options, basic daily food allowance management, peak headcount, and substance in-kind utilization. The winners will be awarded to Command Sergeant Major retired Troy Welsh Action Award plaque. I would ask the following distinguished guests to please join me on stage. The Sergeant Major of the Army, Master Sergeant Atarius Henley, Army Material Command G4 Sergeant Major, and Command Sergeant Major retired Troy Welsh, Director of Membership at AUSA. The 2024 winners of the Command Sergeant Major retired Troy Welsh Action Award are, in third place, AUSA, represented today by Sergeant First Class Christopher Go and Staff Sergeant Timothy Slezak. Our second place awardees, United States Army Forces Command, represented by Sergeant Romani Williams and Specialist Amber Fernandez. And the first place winners of the 2024 Command Sergeant Major retired Troy Welsh Action Award are United States Army Europe and Africa, represented today by Staff Sergeant Christopher Rivera, 55th Field Feeding Company, 16th Sustainment Brigade. Thank you, SMA and Sergeant Major Welsh. Okay. Each year, the Association of the United States Army will award more than $325,000 through 44 national-level scholarships. One of these is the SMA Leon Von Autry Scholarship. 8 SMA Von Autry scholarships are available, one at $25,000, one at $10,000, one at $5,000, and 5 at $2,000. Through a generous contribution from the USAA Foundation, the SMA Leon Von Autry Scholarship honor the memory and legacy of the Sergeant Major of the Army, Leon Von Autry. These scholarships embody SMA Von Autry's commitment to highly motivated and education professionals by providing support to those who dedicate themselves to service to the nation and pursuing self-improvement. At this time, I would like to invite Command Sergeant Major Retired Rob Cobb and Miss Julie Guerra to the front of the presentation for this year's $50,000 donation. USAA has pledged $50,000 to the Sergeant Major of the Army Von Autry Memorial Scholarship Foundation. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you, USAA. Each year during our annual meeting, we pay tribute to our soldiers and non-commissioned officers of excellence throughout our different forums. SMA Weimer, would you please join me on stage to recognize our soldiers of excellence? The Stephen Ailes Ralph Haynes Jr. Award is presented annually by the Department of the Army to the drill sergeant. This year, drill sergeants representing all the United States Army training centers competed in a headquarters U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command competition for this coveted award. The 2024 Active Army Component Drill Sergeant of the Year is Staff Sergeant Samuel Matlock. Staff Sergeant Matlock, please remain on stage. The 2024, stay back there. The 2024 Army Reserve Component Drill Sergeant of the Year is Sergeant First Class Jake Merzina. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 Drill Sergeants of the Year for the United States Army. The General Maxwell Thurman Recruiting Excellence Award is given each year to the Army Recruiters of the Year. During General Thurman's tenure as a commander of the U.S. Army Recruiting Command, he significantly improved the quality of Army enlistees and helped create the professional Army of today. And he played a key role in fostering the public's positive perceptions of America's Army and its great soldiers. His influence left a mark on Army recruiting and set high standards for today's Army recruiters. The non-commissioned officers selected as the top Army recruiters for 2024 are, from the regular Army, Staff Sergeant Elamiti Tolatilu. From the United States Army Reserve, Staff Sergeant Edward Bringus. From the United States Army National Guard, Sergeant First Class Robert Williams. Throughout the United States and beyond, there are recruiting stations that are responsible for bringing in future soldiers. The station commander that exceeds the standards for recruiting command is recognized each year. This year's station commander is Sergeant First Class Quentin Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army 2024 Recruiters of the Year. I think the SMA is carrying like 300 coins in his back pocket, isn't he? He's got to reload. He's got to reload. All right. Retaining the absolute best soldiers is critical to the Army's mission of growing and developing leaders for the future. Career counselors support Army commands by identifying and counseling soldiers and non-commissioned officers of their value to the force and potential to serve in positions of increased responsibility in today's and tomorrow's complex world. The Excellence in Retention Award is given each year to the Career Counselors of the Year. The non-commissioned officers selected as the top Army Career Counselors for 2024 are, from the Active Component Career Counselor of the Year category, Sergeant First Class Anise Moise. The Reserve Component Transition Career Counselor of the Year is Sergeant First Class Christopher Cox. And the Reserve Component Career Counselor of the Year is Sergeant First Class Steve Caldwell. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2024 Career Counselors of the Year. The Army Best Medic Competition is a two-soldier team competition that physically and intellectually challenges the Army's best medics in a 3-day event that includes a realistic simulated operational environment. The competition pushes soldiers to their limits to test their tactical and technical operational medicine capabilities, the skills required to bring the injured, ill, or wounded warfighter home. More than 50 competitors squared off in teams of 2 for this year's competition. The Command Sergeant Major Jack L. Clark, Jr. Army Basic Medic Competition is dedicated to the 13th Command Sergeant Major of the U.S. Army Medical Command. Clark was one of the most respected leaders and non-commissioned officers in the history of the command who understood the important role of medics in the Army and the trusted soldiers and leaders of units and combats must have in the Army Medical Department. Would SMA Weimer and Mrs. Leslie Santiago Rodriguez, as well as Mr. Paul Kingsbury, please come to the stage. Representatives from Blue Cross and Blue Shield. The United States Army Best Medic Trophy, sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield for 2024 is Staff Sergeant Patrick Murphy and Staff Sergeant Ryan Musso from HHC Ranger Battalion, Hunter Army Airfield, Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army's 2024 Best Medics. Now we will recognize the AUSA, NCO, and Soldier Programs Chapter Challenge winner for 2024. In 2020, the NCO and Soldier Programs Directorate created the honorary Don Thomas NCO and Soldiers Ribbon along with the NCO and Soldier Plus Challenge to encourage and recognize engagement with their local NCO and Soldier population. In honor of the service of Don Thomas during his many years in the Office of NCO and Soldier Programs at AUSA, each year, the chapter that exceeds beyond their peers in NCO and Soldier engagement is awarded the title of the Don Thomas NCO and Soldier Program's Best Chapter. I would ask the following distinguished guests to please join me on stage. Command Sergeant Major Retired Julie Guerra, Director of NCO and Soldier Programs, along with the sponsor of the program, Command Sergeant Retired Ed Sizer and Sergeant Major Marine Corps Retired Chino Lavia from Geico Insurance. Okay. Then it's just Miss Julie. The winner of the AUSA NCO and Soldier Program's Best Chapter for 2024 is the Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri Chapter. The Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri chapter will receive a $1,000 check to be used for future non-commissioned officer and soldier programming in the Fort Leonard Wood area. Let's give them a big round of applause. Would the following chapters please stand? In second place, General Creighton W. Abrams chapter in Europe. And in third place, Fort Liberty, North Carolina. For our final award presentation this morning, I'd like to introduce our 16th Sergeant Major of the Army and Chief Executive Officer of Army Emergency Relief, Sergeant Major of the Army Retired, Michael Grinston.
It's always good when you're last. And we're going to recognize all the awardees. No, let's give one more round of applause for all the awardees. That's awesome, isn't it? I do want to thank Dan Daly. Best format you've had the whole time, to include luncheon yesterday. That was really well done. I just want to say thank you. And SMA, Mike Weimer, you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate all the efforts you've done to fix all the messes that I made. So you're doing great, too. And to the DAS said, we have the greatest fighting force in the world, and that's kind of why I love my job, because Even the greatest fighting force in the world every once in a while needs a little help. So every year, Army Emergency Relief helps about 30,000 soldiers. If you look at a 5-year span, that's 1 in 5 soldiers every year or every 5 years will actually use and come and get some help from AER. So what the efforts that we're going to award these awards means is that you all raise money to help your soldiers in need. As we're sitting here right now, there are soldiers and families that lost their houses in the Hurricane Helene. And we're tracking, as of a couple of days ago, and it still keeps going up, we had 1,800 soldiers and families in need. And we've already dished out over $1 million to help those soldiers and their families that have lost their homes, their cars, that are staying in hotels. They don't know where to get the food, so we want to make sure that they have money that they need in times of crisis. So yeah. So when you see these awards and your efforts of what you did with AER, that's what I want to tell you is that's where your dollar goes to help those soldiers in need. And that's why I do love what I do, because every day I get a new story. And one of those stories was we had a soldier that was in the hospital for stage 4 cancer. And the family rented a car, got in a hotel, and then drove there. And they said, we're going to be there with our soldier because they're going through this treatment. And they couldn't afford the rental car. They couldn't afford the hotel bill. And we called them and made sure that they didn't have to worry about that, as that staff sergeant was going through stage 4 treatment. So when you see these awards and what they do, I want to remind you, because a lot of people don't really understand where your dollar goes, and I just wanted to share that with you today. And to lighten the mood a little bit more, I don't have as many SMA coins that you have. And SMA, I know you need some more exercise, so could you please come back up and join us on the stage? And since General Potter didn't really get any exercise, ma'am, could you come up here too? Okay, Sean, you good?
For small installations, coming up on stage at 52.8% is Redstone Arsenal. Command Sergeant Major Dylan Lemasters, Olivia Pierce, and Captain Maria Sala.
Awesome.
Representing medium installations, and for the 4th year in a row at over 98% participation rate. Where are they at? Fort Leonard Wood. Command Sergeant Major Danny Castleberry, Sergeant First Class Kim Hooper, and Army Emergency Relief Officer Chuck Matthews. And for large installations, for the 2nd year in a row at over 31%, Fort Sill. Sergeant First Class Patrick Barnes, Mr. Ken Lewis, Mr. Dan Farrell, along with their leadership team of Colonel Derek Bard and Command Sergeant Major William Pearson.
Well done,
On behalf of our CEO and 16th Sergeant Major of the Army, Tony Grinston, we thank everyone for their support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SMA Grinston, for all that you and the AR team do to take care of our soldiers and families. And congratulations to this year's awardees. All of us at the Association of the United States Army appreciate you taking the time to recognize these outstanding leaders today here in our nation's capital and with our virtual audience across the Army. Let us have one more round of applause for today's recipients, honored soldiers, and awardees. Now, a few admin notes before we close. Directly following this breakfast, in this location, SMA Weimer will introduce his 2024 Leading Change Brief. Tomorrow morning at 0930 is the SMA's Professional Development Forum, the Theater Army, in 152 A and B, and that is back in the Convention Center. And of course, do not forget to spend time on the showroom floor and visit with all of our vendors throughout this week, because they're the ones that help make this possible and all the support we provide our Army throughout the year. Thanks for joining us this morning, and we hope you enjoyed AUSA's 2024 annual meeting and our awards breakfast this morning. Be all you can be. This will defend.